Hey everybody, welcome back into the Mosh Pit. I'm Odd Dustin, and I want to talk about the Ascent here. I've been playing it for a bit this whole opening week, and I'm really digging the game. There's some issues that I have with it, so I thought I'd put together a little video that kind of was like the good, the bad, and the what the f is this? So join me on this journey as we talk about the Ascent, and let me know in the comments below what you think about the game, because I am enjoying it, even though I've been having some issues. The first thing I want to touch on is the good aspect. This game is a looker, that's for sure. For an isometric game, it is probably one of the prettiest games lighting-wise, and it's definitely a next-gen game. I have played it both on the PC and on the Xbox Series X. Both look great. I think the PC looks slightly better, but it has some performance issues. So the X has handled it, and it looks great. It's not as crisp as my computer, which I'm using a 2070. I'm not using one of the big beefy boys, so I don't have the DirectX 12 stuff turned on. I tried turning it on, and everything was just stuttering, and I think it's more the game is having some issues with DirectX. But anyway, it looks great on both PC and on the Series X. I have had a great time looking at the game, that's for sure. And the music, oh my gosh, the music in this game, it's up there with Cyberpunk. I really like the Cyberpunk originally created Cyberpunk music, and this is up there. When you get into those boss fights and it starts the boss fight music. It is chef's kiss, as they say. I like the music quite a bit. The sound design for people yelling at you, and the water, and when it starts raining, you slopping through different sound effects for the world is also really great. I'm digging that, and it's been fun to play. I like twin stick shooters. I've played a few in my day, and I dig the feel of the game. Shooting things feels good. The guns all feel great. Throwing down different tactical items and augmentations feel good. Everything about the gameplay itself for me has felt great when the game's working. And the voice acting, when you have voice acting, some of the smaller time, like anybody that you talk to for a side quest, almost everybody in the side quest realm is talking in a gibberish language, and you have to read whatever they're saying to you and what you say back to them. But for all the main story stuff, it's been voice acted. For the things that are talking to you inside your head, like Nog, the hacker that you can talk to, or your AI companion who is unusually excited about death and dismemberment. She also talks to you with full voice acting, and all of that has been on point. Really great, very believable, and a joy to be listening and be a part of.
Get this done, and your contract with us will be considered fulfilled, operative.
Mention destination set. Soon we shall wade in blood.
And speaking of the weapon variety in this game, there is a shitload of weapons. That is a benefit. Also, we'll get into the bad of that, but I do like the fact that there's so many different types of weapon. I just have a problem with the upgrade process, which we'll get into in this next section, which is the bad. Now, being that there's a lot of weapons, the upgrade items are a little funky, so you get these different upgrade materials, and it's it's a little difficult to know how much you need of what, and the process for getting those upgraded is a little weird. You find all the upgrade parts throughout the world. You can't buy any of these upgrade parts. All of the materials for your upgrades are found either from killing dudes or just from opening weird doors and chests, things like that. You'll find all of the materials you need to upgrade your weapons throughout the world. But I found because you can't buy them, they're very limited, and there's not a whole lot of them. So once you start picking a weapon that you want to get up to the top tier level of gun, let's just say, for example, you want to take a gun to MK10, you've got to go through the different tiers to get there, which, you know, that's like any game that you do it. But once you start heading that direction, you're using up these points and you start leveling, and you kind of get stuck in a gun you like, and you don't feel like going and upgrading a different type of gun just to try it out, because it's going to be underpowered. When you say later in the game, there's a couple of different weapons that you can get later in the game that don't show up in the beginning of the game, but by that point you've already spent all of your points trying out some other guns, and you can't level those up because you don't have enough of the basic materials. And then you get a few of the basic materials, you level them up, but of course basic material isn't enough to get them to a point where they can replace one of your guns and keep you safe, because this game is a little difficult if you don't have the proper firepower. So I'm not going to use an MK5 when I've already got an MK9 and an MK8, right? Because the damage on these new guns is not enough. Well, I can't find enough of these materials to upgrade and get those up to a tier now that I'm in the later part of the game. So, like, I would say in the beginning of the game, picking the type of gun you like is critical, but as you're using these guns, I mean, you just don't have enough materials to try out enough guns. And so it makes for multiple playthroughs probably something that you'd have to do. And I don't know that this is a game where I would want to play it multiple times, because it's good. I don't know. Next thing that I'm a little frustrated with is the checkpoint system. So there is checkpoints. They happen automatically throughout the game, different parts. If you die, you have to start back over in a certain spot. And so far, the checkpoints have just been really nonsensical, like, especially the boss checkpoints. I mean, some of the other area checkpoints are a little frustrating, but the boss checkpoints are, man, sometimes there'll be a checkpoint from a boss death, and instead of being like right where you start that boss fight, and I can just start it over again, you have to run through a bunch of dudes, or you have to run through a long section of nobody, sometimes 30 seconds, a minute long run back every single time. And the boss fights can be a little tough. You'd end up doing that 6-7 times. That's a lot of wasted time in between those fights. That's just boring. And there's a lot of that when it comes to the checkpointing system. I think that they could improve that by moving those checkpoints a little closer to what it was that you were just doing, instead of putting it so far away from where you had died. I understand for just the world checkpoints, but especially for boss checkpoints, if they could just put you back into the boss room so you can start it over again and try again, it would make the game a lot more fluid and a lot easier for me to tolerate. Because I definitely got frustrated. You die 3 times to a boss and you're like, oh my god, I gotta walk all the way back through all these dudes again. This is annoying. And click on that door and unlock this and go through this area. It's like, ugh. And even if you save, it doesn't matter. The checkpoint's always going to be the checkpoint. You could go in the boss room and save there and say, okay, now this is my checkpoint. Nope. Your checkpoint's always outside of the boss room, some other weird place, and you have to run back. One bad thing, but also not, is that there is no difficulty level in this game. For me, I don't really care because I'm a Souls fan. The difficulty is really just a matter of your play style. So you can build out things, I think, in this game that make it a little bit easier and more manageable. You can also do some of the smaller side quest stuff and search around and do a lot of exploring so that you can upgrade your stuff quickly. But some people might have a bad on that. For me, it's kind of a toss-up. It would be nice sometimes when I'm a little frustrated to lower the difficulty, but that's not that big of a deal. And the last kind of bad thing, I think, is the performance on certain areas, especially with areas with water. For me, on the Xbox Series X, the water areas were fine. But the PC, for whatever reason, which I would think would perform better, as soon as I go into an area that has water, even there's one section where you go into a bathhouse, and even that, the performance starts stuttering, I started getting frames. Yeah, I don't know if it was dropping or not, I wasn't monitoring it, but it was definitely it was definitely lagging. And as soon as you walk out of that area, everything goes back to normal and looks great and performs great. So that has just been a little bit frustrating. That's probably just something that's going to get patched out. Eventually, they're going to figure that out and fix it. It's just those small little things like that are a little bit annoying for the game now that it's out. And it seems like something that should have been dealt with before it was released. Now, on to the WTF section of this video. There have been some bugs that have prevented me from progressing in the game. Most of them have been in a boss fight, but there has been a couple where it was a side quest that I couldn't complete. Two different reasons. So one of the weird reasons is that you'll get a side quest, and I've heard this from other reviewers. You'll get a side quest that you can't get to because that area hasn't been opened up yet, but you don't know that. And it just says, go over here, and you go over there, and you fight through some things, and then you can't get there. And it's like, what? I thought I was supposed to go over here. There's a waypoint that says, come over here. The quest says, come over here, but you can't go over there. There's nothing to do. And you're just walking around in circles going, what the hell am I supposed to do? I don't even understand. It says right here. Well, that's because that section hasn't been opened up by the main story. And that's a game design problem. That's something where that side quest shouldn't have been given to you until you get there. Or it should say when you get there, you can't get there or you can't do this because you need to open this. Or some kind of something to indicate, hey, you have this quest, but you can't do it yet. I think really from my standpoint, I would rather just not see the quest, have that quest show up only after I've unlocked that area. That would make a lot of sense. And then the other thing that's locked me out of being able to progress and complete something has been a bugged or stuck item. There was a couple of different main story boss fights that I finished the boss fight and then I couldn't complete it. It didn't do the cutscene or it didn't progress to the next piece of that quest. And it was really frustrating. And I looked it up online. Other people had that issue. And I had to reboot the game, or I had to go out to the main menu, come back in, and then it would complete it. A lot of times, every time when you did that. So I beat a boss, it doesn't do the thing. I'm like, great, okay. Log out to the main menu or completely close the game, go back in. It's that bad checkpoint again. Now I've got to walk through all these guys again, then get to the boss fight, then redo the boss fight, and then it finally triggers the next thing to help me progress. So if you've already beat the boss and then it doesn't, like the boss fights are hard as it is, and then you have it beat and then you can't progress and then you reboot and then now you have a checkpoint that's outside of the boss room that you have to fight all the way to the boss room and redo the boss. Like that's just like annoyance on top of annoyance on top of frustration, right? And it's happened to me multiple times. That's not just like a one-off. And the other kind of WTF piece of this game is the map and the traversal. The map is not, it's not as easy to read. You get used to it and you try to figure it out. Like at the beginning, especially, it's really hard because you're like, what is this map? What is this waypoint? Because there's so many different layers and levels to each map. So it's not like, oh, well, this section has all these different layers. Like, no, they pretty much all have stairs up and down, elevators all over the place. Then you end up using the waypoint button multiple times while you're walking through going, okay, wait, ping, okay, ping, where am I going? Ping, and it will run along the ground and help you out. But you do that a lot, and it gets a little annoying. And also, the fast travel, for whatever reason, they've locked all the levels to themselves. So the way I can describe it is that each of the layers of the world are kind of like a tower, right? The top tower and the bottom tower don't have very many layers, but the middle two towers have, or two levels of the tower have a bunch of different sections in them, right? And these different areas or zones can be fast traveled to using a taxi system or using the tram. And when you get in the metro to go there, or you get in a taxi, you can go only on to zones that are within that level. So if you wanted to go to a zone for a quest and fast travel there, and you're on, say, the second level up, and it's on the third level, well, you got to walk over to the elevator for the third level first, then go up, then you can use the taxi or the metro to fast travel to that zone. So the walking... So I would fast travel to the elevator section, then walk all the way over to the elevator, take the elevator, then do the taxi over to that section once I get into there, then walk all the way over to where I could do the quest, then I'm actually doing something. So there's a lot, and if you try to just walk it, it's 3 or 4 times that length because of how long it takes to get places by walking. So you definitely need to fast travel. But the fast travel isn't really fast. It's still very slow because you have to go here, then there, then there, then here, then there, then there, then you're finally there. and then you can start shooting stuff. I mean, you are shooting things along the way and you're finding stuff, but it's just after, especially mid-game on, it starts to get frustrating that you can't fast travel to the different tiers. And I don't really understand, like, make the taxi drive a little bit longer and load that area. I don't know why you're locking it behind the elevator to get between the different levels. It doesn't make any sense. Just make the elevator ride longer and load that level so that I can fast travel anywhere in the world. Why even have the fast travel then? How about just put elevators everywhere so I can get to all the different places? I don't know. That's just been frustrating. On a whole, though, the game is really fun. It sounds great, and it's still been a blast to play, even with the limitations. No game's going to be perfect. I'm not going to score this or review this in a way that says yay or nay. I'm just going to give you my opinion on the different things that have frustrated me and the other things that I've liked a lot. I definitely like shooting a lot of dudes in the face. I definitely like running through the world, and I'm still playing it. I'm almost to the end, I think, of the game. From the way that the quests are talking, I've done all the side quests now, and I'm just doing the main story. And I'm a little overpowered. I'm shooting a lot of things in the face, quite a bit harder than I was in the beginning of the game, and I like it. And hopefully you are enjoying it as well. Let me know in the comments below if I missed anything that's frustrating you about this game. Have you had any bugs or weirdness that you found that have frustrated you? And what do you think of the Ascent? For me, I think having Game Pass is paying off dividends once again. That's what I have to say about that. Everybody take it easy, have a good one. If you like this video, throw a like on there. I'd really appreciate it. It helps me out quite a bit, and I will see you in the next video.